Here we are, big episode number 10 of Ray's franchise here, and we're sitting at September 1st of the 2024 season, so not a lot to go, about a month to go left in the season, and as you can see, we're sitting dead last in the AL East, which is strange though, because the AL East has been a weak division overall, even though it's obviously competitive amongst itself, so we are last in the division, which obviously does not look good, but we are 5.5 games back from first place, which is not awful. It's not looking great for our playoff hopes, because if we scroll down here, we are quite a bit behind in a wild card as well, or down the list, we are 5 games back in the wild card, with the majority of our AL East counterparts also in the mix there, along with some other teams like the Twins, Astros. But that's pretty much it. I mean, we're fighting with our own division here to maybe squeak into the playoffs. But we did overall make we made a lot of moves at the trade deadline. Probably some moves that might be a little controversial for maybe some of you guys that have been following along. But they're moves that I think overall we're not too bad, and let's take a look at it. And then we'll take a look at our team afterwards and kind of how they perform. So obviously I made the moves just before the trade deadline, right at the trade deadline, and then we have simmed a month through August, so we can kind of see already how those moves have done so far with the team in the month or so that they've been here. So let's go to reports. We'll go to, logs is what we need. Major transactions. Let's go to July. Yes. All right. So look at July. We did go over we got the Jake Cronenworth trade here that we already kind of went over. Very cheap to bring him on, and he was playing incredibly well, but the injury bug got to him too. But we'll go over that a little bit later. The Chad Green, we know about that one, right? Let's keep going. I guess we'll just go right to the big stuff here. Yeah. All right. So, the first big one, this is something that I worked on for hours, honestly. We did end up getting rid of Juan Soto at the trade deadline. His contract was up. We tried some contract negotiations with him. It didn't work out. Honestly, a little bit of error on my part, because he was willing to sign a shorter, it was about $30 million per year, actually more than that, of the average annual value. But it was for a smaller period of time, which might have been possible for us lowly market team Rays to be able to do. But we just couldn't get anything done. And we obviously were not completely out of the playoff race at the time, and we aren't still now. So we could have possibly went for it. I mean, Soto's probably on his way to winning an MVP here. He's close to pretty much, he's projected, he's at about a total of almost 9 WAR already, about 8.5, 8.6. He was already at about 6.5 WAR with us at the trade deadline, having an amazing year, 201 OPS plus. Already had 33 home runs, but we traded him over to the Dodgers. I think we got a good enough package. I was going around to each team. I wasn't really worrying about the trading block. I was just messing around in the trade finder. And just as a reminder too, we have the trade difficulty slider halfway in between the easiest and the hardest setting. So it's not the hardest, but it's also not easy. So it can be rough sometimes to get a good trade going. So The two final suitors, because obviously we had to deal with Soto having quite a large contract. So we needed a team. I was mostly looking at teams that were looking to win now, teams that in real life, somewhat realistic would want to go for somebody like Soto. And obviously, I mean, the Dodgers can go for anyone. The only other team that was close was the St. Louis Cardinals, who we were going. I was trying to work around getting Dylan Carlson in the trade, which I thought would be a great move because he does have cheaper. Obviously, nobody's quite as good as Soto. He's probably the best outfielder in the game. Best hitter in the game right now in the league. But Carlson was obviously a great piece to come back, and we obviously would have a bit of a drop off, but you still can't complain about Carlson's numbers. But that was pretty much all they were willing to go. They would go pretty much straight up Soto for Carlson. I think I already said this, but just in case I didn't, Carlson did have another year of team control as well, so we wouldn't just be getting a rental for a rental, which wouldn't make sense. But I was trying to get a little bit more. I was trying to get a prospect. I was messing around with maybe getting Nolan Gorman, maybe trying to get Jordan Walker, even some pitching help. They have, real quick, let's look it up. Why not? We'll go to, who was it? It's Cardinals, good pitching. Yeah, Trevor Rogers, formerly of the Marlins, who I wonder how, they just traded for him. But I was trying to get him in the deal as well. He also has some team control, having a great season, but I just couldn't work it out where it was, I think, worth it for us. The Dodgers, however, were able to give us a fairly big package. So let's take a look at that. So anyways, so real quick, yeah, there's Juan Soto. We already kind of looked over his numbers. Since being with the Dodgers, he's played in 28 games, hitting close to 400. Absolutely insane. In just a month, put up 2.2 WAR. That's what players hope to, some role players hope to how much WAR they hope to rack up in an entire year, but he did it in a month. So he's not dropped off. He's helping the first place Dodgers here. But let's take a look at our package that we got in return. We did bundle a decent bit as well, but nothing huge. We bundled Jeffrey Springs in that deal, who's having a great year, but his contract was up and he's going to want an expensive contract. So I think he was okay to sweeten the pot in the deal. We threw in Tony Kemp, which was pretty much, he was having an awful, I wouldn't say awful, but pretty bad short period of time up with us. But as you see, we got an upgrade, so we didn't need him anyways. He was pretty much for free because we signed him he's on a minimum contract. So we kind of threw him in, and also threw in a minor leaguer reliever, technically two-way player, and he's got potential on both sides of that, but not anything huge to the point where I wasn't gonna throw him in this deal. And that's Lucas Kelly there. So 21 years old, still in rookie ball. Not doing too great. But he's batting pretty well. The batting side is great. His pitching, not so much. But let's take a look what we got in return. The big piece that we got was Gavin Lux, who's really developed into a fairly big star. He's putting up 3.4 WAR with the Dodgers so far that year before he came to us. Since being with the Rays, he's been pretty middle of the road, not anything crazy. But 26 years old, he had, I think, 2 years of team control left, maybe just one. But still, we get him for this year, we get him for next year. We did already extend him. $11.5 million is not cheap, especially for the Rays. It's not cheap, but it is a lot cheaper than the $30 million, the $30 million plus that we'd have to be paying Juan Soto. So you'll see we got some new players and we extended them already to kind of all together. Hopefully my plan was kind of moneyball it. Not really, there's some stars, but I kind of moneyball it to the point of kind of getting 3 players, because I knew I was not going to get anybody like Soto back, but I could at least try to get 3 players in return that could add up to Soto, and so that was my plan here. So anyways, Lux is on the team. He's going to be on the team next year. Utility kind of infielder, mostly going to play second base. Maybe I'll move him into the outfield a little bit as well to help out. But yeah, pretty good so far. That was our big piece here. But I'm really excited about this too. We picked up Michael Busch, real life Dodger prospect, who pretty much can play a bad left field, but that's all right. And he can play first base for us. So pretty much just a corner first base type guy. DH, which we have him at now. Lefty bat, which we kind of were running out of lefty bats a little bit, especially getting rid of Soto. So having Lux and Busch both being lefties kind of helps even out the lineup. But just great potential overall. He's only 26 as well. Still on a minimum, still on the very early stages of his team control. Not even hitting arbitration yet. So very excited about this bat. My scout even thinks that he might get a little bit better in the contact department. So very well rounded. So Lux and Busch were the two big pieces as part of this Soto trade, but we got some other ones too. I got them to throw in here Will Trebuchet, maybe. Let's go with that. A lefty reliever. Look at this stuff. Look at the fastball slider, changeup. He looked really good. Kind of to be my Springs replacement, honestly, is what I got him for. He has been pretty bad. Well, I don't know. Pretty much giving up a lot of the long ball, and that's got to do with the movement and control being a little low. But I was just basing it off of, only 16 innings pitched with the Dodgers when he was up, but look how good he was with them. Is not really translated to with us yet. But that's all right. I'm gonna stick with him. He's really just kind of plugging a hole with Springs leaving. He was on a 2-year deal at the time, but I got the Dodgers to retain 70% of the contract, so factors out to we're paying him about $1 million for the next for 2 years, which is not bad at all for a reliever. So we'll give him another shot next year on the last year of his contract, and we'll kind of go from there. Also Busch, I don't think we went over kind of what he was doing. He's struggling since coming over with us. It kind of stinks that our new moves haven't been doing a ton so far. But that's all right. Like I said, he's young. He's had great success, pretty good success so far being up, but just hoping for it to develop a little bit, especially coming to the last month of the season. Hopefully he picks it up, gets hot. And then lastly, we got a couple of prospects as well. Kendall Williams, a starting pitching prospect, looks really good. Looks almost ready now, honestly. League ready. He is. The Dodgers were really willing to let him go because he is Rule 5 eligible next year, so we'll have to put him on the 40-man if we can. That is a little bit of an issue for us just because our 40-man is pretty cluttered. It's a real life issue with the Rays too. They just have a bunch of prospects becoming eligible, so we might be willing to deal in a little bit more in the offseason, but I just love this guy's potential. He's got a really good profile, I think. And the last piece of the deal we got here is Jose Ramos from the Dodgers here. A really solid outfield prospect. Could play the corners really well. Bat looks pretty solid. He's had a pretty good track record in the minor leagues up to this point, getting to where he is. He's struggling a bit this year, but he's not. Like I said, he's Rule 5 eligible, so he'll have to possibly be on the 40-man next year. So we'll see. We'll see how he develops this offseason and kind of go from there. But I think this is a solid piece for the future. Nothing necessarily super stardom, but the whole plan here with trading Soto was to just get hopefully a mixture of players in return to kind of add up to Soto, possibly, maybe. That's the plan. So anyway, so that was the main deal. We're kind of leading off with the big one, so definitely want to hear what you guys think. If I lost the deal, if I won it, kind of somewhere in the middle. Was it even a good idea to trade Soto like I did? Would you have kept him to make a push for the playoffs, or do you like the package that I got in return? Keep in mind, let's double check that they haven't. Yeah, they have not extended him yet. So there's a chance that he might hit the open market and go somewhere else anyway. So that the Dodgers possibly paid all of this for just a 1-year rental. I mean, even Springs, obviously not as big of a piece in there. Even it's just a 1-year rental. So, well, unless they extended him, no, they didn't. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe somehow I can make a push for Soto in free agency. I doubt it, but you never know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes this offseason. Something we'll definitely, keep an eye on. All right, so heading back, we made a few more moves that same day. I just kind of went for it. Like I said, we kind of did the addition, subtraction, and then more adding somehow. We went out, and last year we debated doing it. We picked up Bryan Reynolds. He was having a far worse year last year. He actually ended there. Was this 2 years ago, maybe? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2022. Wow, it's all bleeding together. Yeah, the first year I took over, he was not having a very good year. But he has since brought it back and having a really good couple years in a row. And we also have him for 1 more year of control after this as well. We brought him back already on a almost $13 million deal for 1 more year for his age 30 season. But a switch hitting, pretty evenly balanced bat. Obviously great range. He's taking over at center field full time with obviously Manny Margot, who was our full-time center fielder, who nothing against him, but I think he just plays a little bit better in right compared to Bryan Reynolds. So moved Margot over to right. Bryan is playing center for us, and I will show you what we gave up. This is another huge piece. We actually also got the Pirates star closer, David Bednar, in the deal as well, which I thought was great. He's just a really good reliever, and again, we also have him for 1 more year as well, maybe even 2. I'd have to double check that, but we are locked him up for next year, and we're not long-term committed, but he is having an amazing year and is off to a really good start with us as well. So we got both Reynolds and Bednar. In exchange, we gave up finally on Alec Burleson, one of the first moves I made in Ray's franchise, and he did not pan out for us whatsoever. He put up, this year we've given him various shots in 32 appearances, 119 at-bats, 129 plate appearances. He put up a whole -1 WAR. I just really thought this bat would play better. It didn't. We'll just take a look at just kind of overall. I mean, you can see he had a good point with St. Louis. We've tried him for 2 years in a row, and both years very disappointing. Just not what we were looking for from him. Of course, though, classic. We trade him to the Pirates, and look at him. He's raking right now, hitting over 300. OPS at 855. Already hit 5 home runs. I mean, and this is in pretty much the exact same amount of time, the same amount of plate appearances, pretty much. And for whatever reason, hitting a lot better over in Pittsburgh. And I mean, that's fine. Some players, they just need a change of scenery. And so we're trading that. So we're trading Burleson, and we also sent over Brandon Marsh, a recent acquisition of ours as well, who had a solid year last year, really good, but this year very bad as well. Put up in 194 plate appearances, put up almost -1 more as well. Also, my scout has went down on his defensive ratings, and so I really liked him at the 70 outfield range to be like a backup center fielder. But bringing in Bryan Reynolds, so we have Margot and Reynolds there, it just wasn't needed necessarily to have him, especially since he is going into arbitration, going to be a little bit more expensive. Like I said, worse defensively, having a bad year. I felt comfortable putting him in the deal. Again, just to also free up some 40-man spots too, or at least to try to make it 1-for-1 here. With bringing Bednar and Reynolds, who are on the 40-man, and getting rid of Burleson and Marsh, who are on the 40-man themselves. So, but just like Burleson, he gets sent over to Pittsburgh and is playing really well for him. But that's kind of just the story of out of the park baseball. So, especially for me at least. But yeah, so good luck to him. Hopefully it works out. Let's just take a look at our original trade where we brought, this was the Yandy and Vidal trade. Vidal's, sorry, we're going on a little bit of a tangent here. He's been pretty much what he was, a little bit better with the Angels, so rooting for him, but not really hurting by that trade. And Yandy, I'm pretty sure they signed to a decent, he got a 3-year extension here, $10.5 million for 3 years, and he's having an okay year, pretty average. So obviously we got Brandon Marsh and Chris Rodriguez in the deal. Chris, I'm getting way ahead of myself. We're not even looking at the injuries yet, but he's going to be making his return shortly, which I'm very excited for. We need him. So anyway, so that's that trade. And go back. And then one more kind of smaller one. We actually did an inter-division trade. Kittredge was another one of our players that we were looking to kind of offload just because of the expiring contract. And overall, not having, I can't say that. He was having a really good year in relief for us, but try to see if we can get some value for him. And so we shipped him off to New York, where he's not off to a great start with them. And in return, we got Nick Gordon, who, by looking at these ratings, not think too much, but like, look at this year he was putting together for New York. 381 plate appearances. Just a high average. Not a lot of power, obviously. So the OPS and stuff is struggling. But 1.6 WAR because he's a solid defender, utility guy. Can play the outfield really well. Can play some second base, even some shortstop if you really need him. So really cool utility. Left-handed bat. So I thought it was just cool to take a shot on him. He's really cheap. He's still on the minimum contract. He is arbitration eligible and out of our option years, but I'm really enjoying having him on the team. Just kind of be a flex guy, play everywhere for us, and he's off to a pretty good start with us. Even better, honestly, than when he was with the Yankees. A much smaller sample size, but just bringing some speed, some defense, and a little bit of contact. As well as playing around the diamond, I definitely found some value there. But to make this trade, I think even more of a no-brainer, we bring in Samuel Munoz, 19 years old, prospect, just your typical kind of first base corner outfield type guy. Got some great power potential. We'll see how he goes. He's in rookie ball right now, playing really well for us. Look at that. 900 OPS there, so all that so we got Munoz and Gordon for Kittredge. I felt really good about that. All right, what else? Okay, so this is another one, kind of just a last second trade offered. This never happens. Maybe you guys, but I don't think this is my first time in out of the park history where I've just straight up accepted a trade that was proposed to me by the AI. They wanted Jorge Alfaro, who was my backup catch-up behind. Did I just say backup catch-up? It is too late for this. Anyways, he was my backup catcher, and behind Carson Kelly, again, one of those veterans I signed to a minimum contract, had no super, long-term value. He wasn't playing extremely well for us by no means. Actually pretty poorly in a little bit, but Milwaukee really wanted him for whatever reason, so they offered Jake Cousins, who is a very solid relief option, especially in real life. He is struggling, or was struggling a bit with Milwaukee this year, just kind of like ho-hum, pretty much, but I see some potential there, so hopefully putting him in my system will give a bump there. He is going into arbitration, so that's kind of probably one of the reasons why Milwaukee wanted to offload some of that money. But they also offered some pretty intriguing not contracts. Jeez, I am struggling with my words. Some pretty intriguing prospects in return. Vinny Gomez, already a fairly developed power hitting outfielder, okay defense, playing really well in his short stint in our AA system right now. He might be an option for, he's not even technically Rule 5 eligible yet either, which was surprising me about this trade, because usually when the CPU is doing that is because they see either going into arbitrations that have to pay more money, or they're seeing that they need to be put on the 40-man roster, so kind of getting rid of them before that. But this was not the case here, so I thought that was pretty cool to go along with Jake Cousins. And then we also got Jordan Sprinkle here. Obviously a little bit older, but he's playing really well in high A. Honestly, probably should promote him at this point, just because at 23 he's going to need to start bringing it around. But really solid contact, middle infielder, mostly second base, pretty much his main position there. Can he play maybe some corner outfield? We'll see. Anyway, so there's some potential there. So I just went for that, and then we ended up just bringing Tucker Barnhart, just another kind of veteran catcher on a minimum deal with really good defense. He came out to kind of take Alfaro's place. So let's see here. One more trade. Got rid of Sonny Gray. He was just not good for us. He was really just being a placeholder. We had a few guys, I'm pretty sure, come back from injury, so just kind of making some room on the 40-man. He didn't want to be demoted, so I just shopped them around. We got Kyle Gibson in return. Only reason I picked him up was because he's not on the 40-man, so it freed up a 40-man spot for us. I guess he's an option. Probably not going to use him, but here he is. He's in our system now. Let's go to, I guess that's probably it for our trade deadline. This is us extending. So we did extend Cronenworth. We bought out his last arbitration year for $10 million. A little expensive for the Rays, but I figured I'd do this now before they finish off the year really well. So $10 million for Cronenworth. 12 3/4 for Reynolds, and then also Lux we signed to 11.5. So those are 3 players right there that are taking, if you add it all up, is pretty much what we were possibly going to pay Soto for next year if we got a contract done. So that's about $30 million sunk into Lux, Cronenworth, and Reynolds for the next year. We'll have to see. I'm not necessarily tied to any one of these guys. Probably Lux, mainly just with him being younger. Cronenworth is probably the most on the out. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is that I'm not against possibly making some moves in the offseason, but I just kind of did this now to hopefully save a little bit of money now before letting it go to arbitration later. So we'll have to see. We do kind of have a little bit of a logjam kind of in the middle infield with Lau coming back from injury as well. But Cronenworth is, they're all pretty flexible players, Lux and Cronenworth, so we can move them around. And as far as roster makeup, I think that's pretty much it. I will show you, probably saw with Cronenworth. We'll go to injured list here. We lost him for 1-2 weeks. He went out actually on the 19th, so he's been out for about a month, or will be out by the end of it. Will be out for about a month. Man, if you look what he was doing for us, at one point he was hitting 400. He's cooled off to hitting 368. He's already almost gone for 2 WAR in just 128 plate appearances for us. So he's playing so well, pretty much the best out of any of our other additions that we've made. And so it was really sad to see him go down now, especially when we're possibly maybe trying to squeak into the playoffs. But we did get Lau back So Lau's having an okay year. He's not looking like he's even going to hit 20 home runs, and that's just really not what you want to see from him. But and he's starting to get expensive too. He's at the 10 million portion of his contract, so we got around 10 million to a bunch of players. I think even Wander is now we're getting to the point with his contract where it is moving up into it's going to be in the 8 million. So we're past kind of the small amounts, and it's going to get much bigger from there for Wander. So money, I wouldn't say necessarily a concern, but definitely something we need to keep an eye on. Anything else as far as roster? I mean, let's just look injuries. Romero's out, not anything huge there. He's playing really bad. I've been swapping out kind of like the fifth starter slash long relief slash reliever. It has just been really weak for us, to say the least. I was finally going to give JJ Goss his major league debut, which he did make. He pitched in 3 games for us. I think I had him have him coming out of the bullpen just to start long relief. He pitched 6 innings, or 6 1/3, and he did not let up a single earned run in that time. Only 1 walk too. So he was off to a really good start. Obviously extremely small sample size, but he is currently the number 8 prospect in baseball. And then he went down with hamstring strain. So he's out for 6 weeks. And man, it's just, that stunk. But we are excited. I did mention earlier Chris Rodriguez coming back in a week. He should definitely help us for sure hold down the starting rotation job there. Anybody else? I think a few other injuries here and there. Nothing huge, but yeah, just really cycling out our pitching to kind of get. We did give Sweeney the call up, I think, for roster expansion. Hasn't played a game for us yet, but kind of excited to see how he does. Anything else? I guess I can just show you kind of what lineups are looking up. We got Nick Gordon leading off because he's been pretty solid, just kind of being on base, kind of speed guy. And anybody else? Yeah, really looking for Lux and Bush from the Dodgers from the Soto trade to step it up here, going into the last month of the season. This is what our lineups are looking like, in case you care. Paredes has cooled off a bit, so he kind of lost his starting job. We did send Meade down for 3 games, brought him back up because of injuries, but he's back on the team. He's just kind of been pretty average, not anything crazy. So we have Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn is kind of taking over full-time first base at this point. Randy, still been disappointing. He might be somebody we move this offseason. As much as I hate to say it, he's one of my favorite players in real life. But he's just going to start getting expensive, and I don't think he is producing at the level of how much we would be paying him. So he's been kind of pretty average. But we'll have to see. Anything else? So that's offense. Here's our pitching staff right now. Not a lot of lefties in the bullpen. That's something I'll have to address soon. But yeah, I mean, just the moral of the story is just some disappointing pitching performances. McClanahan, he's been better, but still not great. Taj Bradley, he's got his major league debut, pitched 2 2/3, and got destroyed in his debut against the Yankees. But again, I kind of need him there to be a stopgap, at least until Rodriguez comes back. Hopefully he's a little bit better. So man, it's just been I don't know. It's just been our good players have been playing good. We had a few surprises of our regulars not playing as well, but just a lot of the young guys that we're bringing in that was hoping to be able to give a bigger role this year just have not come through, which really stinks. Like Jacob Lopez, one of our starting pitching prospects, has some hope, but he's just kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, and I don't know if he'll even make the team next year. So anyways, kind of rambling a bit. I think that's it to kind of guys get you all updated with the trade deadline. yeah, we're gonna move. Probably. How long are we at? Okay. Probably finish out this month and kind of see where we're at from there. So, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. See ya. Well, guys, it happened again. Your Tampa Bay Rays missed out on the playoffs, and man, it hurts. It hurts a little. I thought we had some hope, but we just could not stay consistent this year at all. If we just look, I mean, pretty much just 500, really, the whole year. May was rough. September, when we really needed a run, we couldn't get one. We had one of our second worst months, of course, the last month of the season. So we kind of bookended the season a little bit with some bad months, and that's just not how you win. Our offense, not bad at all. If you look, fourth and runs scored, really, that was our pitching. Just was not good. And maybe I should have, put more. My off-season my trading deadline transaction was a lot of offense. Maybe should have gone more pitching. There wasn't a ton of great options, to be perfectly honest, out there as far as starting pitching. Bullpen, it just nobody could put it together, and on the pitching side of things. Offense, I really can't super complain about. We were able to kind of fix it. They struggled in the beginning, but we were able to kind of turn around, and we were able to keep these rankings even after trading Soto, who was obviously a bulk of our offense. But man, our defense wasn't even all that great. Our zone rating was pretty solid, so I guess I can't really say that. It mostly is just our starters and bullpen, just not great. And the problem is, it would be one thing if I'm looking at this team and I'm seeing I could see why we'd struggle. We don't have a strong, but we have a great starting rotation here with Boz. Severino had a great year. Shane McClanahan, that should be the league's best 1-2 punch right there with Boz and McClanahan. But Shane just had an abysmal year, honestly. I mean, it was just bad. Close to 6 ERA. He was letting up nearly 2 home runs per 9. 74 ERA plus. That's just not good. Boz Boz started off pretty weak. Ended up as an okay year, really. Not ace worthy by no means. Severino was the bright spot. He was pretty solid. Even then, he had his struggles. But he's gone this year, because that was the one thing I didn't mention for the trade deadline. I accidentally put a no trade clause when I signed him, so I couldn't get rid of him. And he wants a massive contract here, so it worked out for him. So good luck to him in the future. But anyways, we got Chris Rodriguez back. Didn't realize his ratings are starting to tank after his injury, but he ended up pitching okay for the 28 innings that he was around this year. I picked up, as a last-ditch effort, I picked up Griffin Canning off of waivers, who was having a really good year, and for whatever reason, the Guardians waived him, and then obviously he comes to our team and just is awful. So he had a couple of good starts, I guess, but then got lit up these games right here. So not great. Taj Bradley ended up being not too bad. Kind of starting a few games, long relief. Brendan McKay was a starter for a lot of the year. -4. I might be done with him because he is hitting arbitration. He's out of option years. He's been really good the last 2 years, but I don't know. Our bullpen, I don't really see being so bad. Chad Green was pretty awesome. Coming over, Chargois was great. Bednar was great. Trading for him. Nick Anderson was great. Jake Cousins was really good. So I have hope for the bullpen going forward. The starting rotation might need a little bit of work here. We do have some help coming in the form of some prospects. Luis Patino, he can't really be a starter anymore. His stamina's gone down. Just don't trust the. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could try him but injuries have kind of derailed his career a bit. We had some stables. Fire Eisen was pretty bad this year. Jason Adam was bad when he was up. Just Beeks was bad, even though he's been great in the past. So just a lot of these guys who were really good, just could not put it together. So Phoenix Sanders was really bad when we had him up. Chirinos is kind of just, he's not, we gotta just get rid of Chirinos. He's just not worth kind of keeping around anymore. I keep doing that. Anybody else? But anyways, as far as backup, we got, where is he? Nick Bitsko. It looks like he'll be ready to go to start with the team next year. Hopefully, JJ Goss also will be coming off of the injured. Will be coming off an injury. Drew Rasmussen we didn't have for the entire year, for the most part. We didn't have him. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I say to myself. We didn't have him for the entire year. So it'd be great to have him back. Garrett Crochet. But again, also these are all pretty, pretty serious injuries. So we have no idea exactly what they're going to be like when they come back. Kind of like Chris Rodriguez, even though he was great, but his rankings are kind of tanking. So I don't really trust that to be held for too long. But yeah, so pitching. I never thought I'd have to say this. I thought pitching would be great setup for the future with Boz and McClanahan here for at least a while. But man, it's not looking great. I honestly think if McClanahan and Boz both had ace type years, we'd easily be in the playoffs. But we just could not get any consistency, and I think that's the main word for this team. It's just consistency was not there. We just cannot put together any streaks. I mean, because like if you really look at our record, it's not like we were last place in the division. We can go to the standings real quick, but we were not like abysmal if you compare us to some other standing or teams in the AL. And all of the, despite the Yankees, or other than the Yankees, all of the AL East did not make the playoffs. Look at that, second place Red Sox were under 500. So all four teams were all under 500, and the AL East were all just kind of beating up on each other the whole year. I mean, so we're in last place, but we were 3 games behind. 3 games behind second place. So, I'm not looking at this team and thinking that it's just straight awful. It's not. We do have to retool a little bit. Offense, let's look at it. Was great. I can't really complain. Like we said, we had kind of a rough start, but the changes that I was able to make with offense did translate to some better improvement. So Wander led the way with 5.2 WAR. Great year. His WAR is going up every single year. Hopefully he develops even more. We had him kind of at third base here for a while. I'll jump ahead just for a second. Is I think really the only offensive thing that I'm really looking for is maybe I kind of said this last year, but there wasn't a great option. A slugger, somebody who can play corner, outfield, DH. And I would love to get just a true shortstop. I know I said that in the very beginning of the series that I kind of wanted to keep Wander there. But I like him at third base with this arm and just get a true fielding shortstop. I mean, his zone rating was positive for... Man, I don't know. Well, it just really does depend who's out there. I'd be interested in getting a true shortstop, be able to move Wander to third. That will kind of hurt the logjam of Cronenworth, Lux, and Lau as far as that other middle infield spot. But anyways, moving on here. We'll just keep going for now. We'll talk about the offseason later. Lux had a great year overall, 4.6 WAR. 1.1 of that WAR was with us, and it was good. He hit 7 bombs with us, hit 258. It looks great. I'm excited to see what he does in a full season. We have 2 years of team control on him. Brian Reynolds was great. He had 1.5 of his WAR with us. OPS 783, not bad whatsoever. Excited to see, again, a full year of him. Starting off, Manny, of course, was great. He honestly probably would have had, even a bigger season WAR-wise if he stayed in center field the whole year. Obviously, you rack up a lot more of WAR that way. He is on his team option year, probably going to accept it for $12 million. I think is pretty good. Obviously, that locks up more of our money. We're gonna be pretty tight. We're gonna have to make some moves. Carson Kelly was great. He very weak offensively to start off with, but he turned around 13 home runs from the catcher position, 728 OPS, above average with OPS plus, and that 3.2 WARs coming from some great defense. Not going to complain about that. He's locked up for a little while. To be our starter, maybe if we can get an upgrade, sure, I'd be interested. But paying $4.5 million for a starting catcher with good defense and solid enough offense is good for me. Michael Busch was a little disappointing, finishing the year with us, under league average as far as OPS plus. So really, run of the mill as far as that. But he's young. 26. We'll see what he does full season. He's still got option years, so we'll be able to be flexible with him. What else we got here? Andrew Vaughn. I'm pretty sure he kind of cooled off. Wish he had a little bit more pop. He's not really that slugger, like I said, that I'm looking for. He wasn't a full-time player by no means, but he was pretty solid when he was 45% above league average OPS plus. So pretty good. A big bounce back for him because I know he was struggling when we first brought him in, but we didn't have to give up a whole bunch to have him. So Nick Gordon, I really like having a player like this, just really flexible, good defense, can play everywhere, outfield, infield. I already talked about great speed, so he's just kind of one of those great kind of glue players to have around, and I'll definitely look to bring him back. He is hitting arbitration, but fairly cheap, so we'll see. I'll look to definitely bring him back. So really solid year overall for him. Who else do we got here? Lau was definitely disappointing. He did battle some injuries, of course, so that does prevent him from racking up some statistics. He did end up hitting over 20 home runs, so that was great. He's getting expensive. He's on the last 2 years, the last kind of fully guaranteed year, and then he's got a team option for $11.5 million in 2026. So his future will be kind of up in question soon. We'll definitely, like I said, we'll kind of be battling it out for multiple players battling out for that second base spot. Isaac Paredes, solid player, one of my favorites. I love having him around. Just kind of ended up being more of a bench role. He started off as a starter this year, but kind of got regulated to the bench after getting some upgrades. But solid bat off the bench, can play kind of corners, first and third, corner infield, sorry. Randy, already kind of talked about him. Very just okay, and his arbitration estimate is close to $5 million, so it might be Randy's last year with the team. I hate to say that, I really love him, but I don't know. And then also Curtis Mead, I did not see, he kind of went backwards a little bit. We gave him more opportunities than he did last year, and was worse by a little bit. I was hoping he would get a lot better. He's a tough one, but he's still only 23 years old too. So I'm not, freaking out. But I guess at this point I won't be too, too gung-ho as far as getting him out there to play every single day. We'll see. We have a lot of first base options, especially with Busch in the team now. We'll see. And then Tucker Barnhart, who just was a defensive backup catcher, was not very good offensively, but he also only played in 13 games. So whatever, we rotated our backup catchers multiple times. So it was McGuire, then it was Alfaro, Barnhart, Rene Pinto was up. So revolving door there. Anybody else? Let me just kind of look through the 40-man. Patino was up and down throughout the year. Was not very good. Honestly, kind of forgot to trade him. Firearson was pretty bad. Adam was bad. We talked about those guys. JD Davis, had him plug in some holes when we really needed some help and when a bunch of injuries were hitting. Very good in AAA. Probably just not going to bring him back. Keep a 40-man spot for somebody else. couple of young relievers were not great. Trey Sweeney was up with the team. Did not play a lot. He actually has not gotten a hit as a Tampa Bay Ray yet, or a walk. So that's all right. Looking for more from him next year. Xavier Edwards was another huge disappointment. Again, I guess I can't even say huge. He only got 60 at-bats, but was just not good in the opportunities he's been giving the last 2 years. A lot of teams are interested in him for a trade, so that might be an avenue that we approach. Gentry was a guy I was trying to get rid of, honestly. He really shouldn't be here anymore. He was not good. He's not good at AAA. We took a shot on him in a trade, kind of like a throwaway trade. Anyway, so he will probably get the chopping block this offseason to free up 40-man space. Jacob Lopez has just been constantly battling injuries and just inconsistency. Not very good. Had high hopes for him. Pinto was just kind of third catcher on the team. Phoenix Sanders, bad. Seymour, bad. So that's what it is. I think we're just gonna have to trim a lot of the fat. A lot of the players who didn't perform kind of go a different direction that way. But I think we have a core here. I don't foresee us doing much as far as this main Boz McClanahan core of our starting rotation. That 3 through 5 is probably going to be the bigger question marks. Do we give it to the young guys, which I'm thinking maybe Bitsko and Goss will get in there, and maybe 1 starting pitcher, 2 starting pitchers this offseason would be the goal. So starting pitchers, a slugger, possibly a true shortstop. Those are the main things going into this offseason as far as upgrades. And also just kind of dealing with, take a look at money. See, we do not have a lot of money. We have a lot of money for already kind of, applied to next year as far as some, skipping some arbitration. None huge contracts, just a bunch of, around the 10 million range, which is kind of, clogging it up. So I'm definitely probably going to just take my time and really just kind of go through, see what contracts we don't need, even if it's the smaller ones, and just kind of free up as much space as possible. Like I said, our 40-man is very kind of full, so we need to move some things around there for sure. As far as big decisions contract-wise, I already kind of talked about guys who are possible trade pieces. No huge losses as far as free agency other than Severino and Chad Green. This episode's been going for a while, so that's the recap. Sorry I let you guys down. I'm just not sure what happened to the pitching all of a sudden after having such a great year last year. We kind of flipped places where the offense was struggling last year, pitching was great. We swapped this year. Pitching struggled and the offense did great. So we just need to find both of them to be on at the same time, and I think we have a great team on our hands. So let me know what you guys think. I will pause for a second, and I'll show you the World Series champion on the next episode, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this longer episode, and please give me some tips, what you think went wrong. Let me know any moves, any names that you'd like me to look out for this offseason, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you.